Hey guys, Josh here. I just finished playing this new fishing RPG called Sea Fantasy, and in this video I'll be sharing with you my thoughts on it so you know if it's something you should play or not. Honestly, I had no idea this game existed until very recently when the developers sent me a Steam key to check it out. I feel like it came out of nowhere, no one's really talking about it, but it piqued my curiosity right away and I can already tell you it did not disappoint. It is a fantastic game to start 2025 with. Leave a like if you'd like for 2025 to be filled with fun, surprising games, and let's dive into it. So you play as these two young men called Rod Ocean and Axel Brave, who decide to brave the ocean and to leave the small island they grew up on to go on a fishing trip. However, they quickly stumble upon this mysterious dragon and find themselves caught up in a mission to save the world from destruction. I won't reveal too much as it is a pretty short story, but the plot is there to make things more exciting than if it was just a regular fishing trip. It gives motivation to what you're doing, makes you meet different characters along the way. Don't expect revolutionary storytelling or anything like that, but it is a fun little adventure. On that adventure, you get to explore islands and villages with different themes, so there's a desert one, a snowy one, a Japanese one, so many more. The pixel art is fantastic. And if you couldn't tell by the visuals, maybe your eyes are closed, maybe you're just listening, without a doubt, as soon as you hear the beautiful and catchy soundtrack this game has to offer, you know that it is clearly inspired by classic JRPGs. Just like with some of the old classics though, one thing that can break the immersion of this world a little bit is the rough translation from Japanese. You'll still understand the meaning of everything, but there are certainly some unnatural turns of phrases here and there, unusual choices of words, inconsistencies with certain terms, including the name of your mom who's sometimes called Lorraine, other times Loretta. Fortunately, this is something that should get fixed in the future. The developers have released a statement apologizing for the disastrous translation results. These are their words, I really don't think it's that bad, but they are looking at quotes from various translation companies in order to get the game professionally translated. If you do not mind the text being a bit rough, you can give it a go, you'll have a good time. But if well-written dialogue is very important to you, then you might be better off just waiting until there's an update on that front. Overall though, I really enjoyed the atmosphere, story and vibes of Sea Fantasy. It's very reminiscent of old school RPGs, almost as if I had discovered a secret unreleased Super Nintendo game in 2025. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Throughout your adventure, you get to alternate between the two characters who both have their own abilities. Let's start with Rod Ocean. You can probably tell by his name, he's the one casting his fishing rod into the ocean. He is the fishing guy, and that's the activity you will spend the most time doing in Sea Fantasy. Before we get into the details, fish in this game is not called fish, but C-A-Z, Ciaz, C's, C-A's, C-A-Z. I have no clue how to pronounce it, no clue why they went for this weird name, what it means, why are the last two letters capitalized. I wish they explained it a little bit, I don't think there's a reason for that in the story, but for the sake of this video, I'll be using an easier word, fish. So you cast your rod over the shadow of a fish, and then this minigame starts. On one side is your HP, if it gets to 0, you die. On the other side is the HP of the fish, and if that gets to 0, you catch the fish. Then you have this big bar with a marker that's moving from left to right. Press while it's in the blue to lower the HP of the fish, or in the smaller orange section for a perfect hit, a lot more efficient, and what you should ideally aim for. If you hit outside of those sections or you let the timer get to 0, then you lose HP. It's really straightforward, quite fun, but it can get challenging. Some of the fish, by the way, they all have very unique and amazing designs. I really love the art and creativity in this game. But some of the fish, like the ones you will catch during boss battles, will have gimmicks. Some will do things like freezing your fishing marker, where you then have to click repeatedly to unfreeze it. Others will randomly send tornadoes, making your marker move extremely quickly. One of them even flips the whole fishing minigame upside down, so every time you feel like you've seen everything, something new comes up. These gimmicks spice up the fishing, and they make it so the otherwise simple mechanic never gets boring. With that in mind, don't hop into this game expecting a cozy and peaceful fishing experience, and this is where I think Sea Fantasy might divide some players. Things will get chaotic, some of these fishing battles give me a hard time and I had to retry them several times. I like my games to have some difficulty, so if you do as well and you want something that will challenge your reflexes, you will be enjoying yourself. On the other hand, if you're just looking at this fishing minigame and it's stressing you out in a bad way, this might not be for you. To complement the fishing system, like I said earlier, Sea Fantasy takes a lot of inspiration from JRPGs. Every time you catch a fish, you gain experience, and when you level up, you receive points that you can freely allocate in different stats. You can make your hits more powerful, increase your defense, make the blue and orange bars larger, extend the timer, and so on. Obviously, fish will also get more difficult to catch on each new island you discover, but you get that very satisfying feeling of progression, and whenever you go back to catch all your fish, it's much easier. And you will return to find all of these fish because each catch rewards you with materials that can be used to craft hooks, which greatly improves your stats, and also fishing rods that not only increase your stats but can sometimes give you special effects. So there is this element of unlocking new equipment, making your character stronger, and I love little details like the fact that you can craft from anywhere, your inventory space is unlimited, and so you never have to worry about these kinds of logistics. Also, let me know if it's just me, but I absolutely hate, whenever a fishing game requires me to use bait for every single fish. I don't like having to use consumable items all the time. I don't like tools that break and stuff like that. It's just too much to keep up with, and it breaks the flow of a game. That was one of my concerns at first, but luckily it's not the case with Sea Fantasy. So while there is bait, which increases your stats for one catch, it's not something you have to worry about for most of the game. It helped me for 2 or 3 boss battles, but it's entirely optional, and all fish can be caught without it. So throughout my whole playthrough, I never had to think about things like, oh, do I have enough bait? Do I have enough space in my inventory? The game just let me play and focus on the fun stuff. So outside of the fishing, what fun stuff can you do in Sea Fantasy? Here comes Axel Brave, who excels at braving all of the other challenges, such as using a sword and solving puzzles. As you progress, you will unlock different abilities, and Axel is the one who will be able to do things like breaking rocks, defeating monsters, stuff like that. After a certain point in the game, you can instantly switch between Axel and Rod. I like that you play as 2 characters, makes everything less lonely, and some of the boss battles make a great use of this feature where you'll, for example, need to hit the fish with your sword using Axel for the first phase, and then in the second phase, you'll need to actually catch the fish with Rod. In certain parts of the game, Axel is on his own, like in these side-scrolling sections, where there's a lot more combat, a bit of platforming, and these are so refreshing when you need a break from fishing. That is one thing I really appreciated with Sea Fantasy, actually, how there's always something new or unexpected to keep things fresh. You would think it would be all about fishing, but it keeps surprising you with not only these side-scrolling sections, but also minigames where you, for example, pilot a submarine, ride a minecart. Most of these are just very short one-offs, and I was craving for more, but there is a great amount of variety. This variety is really what kept me hooked to this game, coupled with the pacing. There was not a single dull moment in my playthrough. First of all, with fishing, as soon as you get close to a body of water, 2 to 3 fish appear, you catch one, another one respawns right away, and you can keep catching them like this one after the other without being interrupted by long animations, loading times, or even worse, a full inventory. It's so easy to keep going, which makes it very addictive. I had places to go in the game, but I kept thinking, okay, just one more fish, just one last fish before I go. And of course, each fish provides you with materials and experience, so all of it is feeling so rewarding. Then, when I would finally start to move, running around the island was so fast. There is an option to run automatically so you don't have to break your finger holding down a button, and I feel like that should be the default for most games. Few things annoy me more than holding down the same button to run or having to dash all the time looking at Coral Island, but you don't have to worry about any of that here. They really thought about all of these tiny quality of life details that end up making a big difference on the overall experience. What's even better than running is sailing. There's about 30 islands to visit. The world is not huge but also not tiny by any means. Yet going from one extremity to the other takes about 15 seconds, and I'm not even exaggerating. You go anywhere on the beach, press one button to embark on your ship, and from there you can sail super quickly to any of the other islands. Again, no loading screen, nothing, everything's happening without any interruption, making it a breeze to travel. There is a bit of backtracking in the main storyline. You will also want to go back to earlier islands to catch some more fish, but everything is so quick and easy that none of it ever feels like a chore. It is a very fast-paced game. You're always like tack 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 getting things done. You never have to wait, and with the variety in gameplay, the gimmicks with the fishing, you go through the whole game with the wind in your sails. Which brings me to my next point, it all ended too quickly for me. Each time I booted up the game, I was hooked fully into it, forgetting about everything else for hours, but I didn't boot up the game too many times as after 2 long sessions, once I hit the 9-hour mark, I was done with the main story. Yes, I did enjoy every single minute of it, but it left me craving for more. Now, there is some more content if I want to beat 100% of the game. There are these rare golden frogs to find. I'm missing one of the 104 fish. I can also try to catch the biggest version of each fish, which would give me this little crown next to their name. I could grind for materials to craft all of the fishing rods, try to find some of the treasure chests and outfits I'm missing, obtain the few remaining Steam achievements like getting 100,000 gold or reaching level 100, and these would probably bring me closer to the 15 hours mark. I do like grinding, so I might go back to it, but I wish the story had been stretched out just a little bit more. I would have preferred to have a bit more grinding required here and there throughout the main story to make everything last longer, rather than have the story wrap up so early and then have the grinding once all of it is done, and when I don't have that much use for whatever I will unlock next. So while I love the fast pacing, I feel like it could have been balanced a bit better, and in the end, I did enjoy every moment of my short time with Sea Fantasy. Lastly, I want to touch on a few noteworthy things that you might want to know about. I played mostly with mouse and keyboards, there is also controller support, the game works great with either, but I had some tiny issues. By default, the cancel button was set to the shift key. That didn't feel right for me, so I changed it to escape, which made things easier, but still I found some of the menus to not be the most intuitive or consistent. For example, the map can be opened with M and closed with either M or the cancel button. On the other hand, the crafting menu is opened with X, but cannot be closed with X, only with the cancel button. Same with the pouch. To set item shortcuts, it can be opened with E, but cannot be closed with that same button. So I was often trying to close the menus with the same buttons that I used to open them. With some of them it worked, with others it didn't. That was annoying and it felt a bit messy. Another thing that felt messy, in the encyclopedia you can see where each fish can be caught, but it's sometimes unclear or inconsistent. This fish, for example, can be caught in underground volcano, very clear, all good. But this one can be caught in underground volcano, etc. What is the etc. for? The areas are pretty clear cut in the game, so does it mean the fish can be caught in areas surrounding the underground volcano? But if so, why not just list these other areas? Because there are fish with 2 areas listed, also fish with 2 areas and then etc. Maybe this is just an issue with the translation, but it didn't make me feel super confident when looking for certain fish. I also noticed some of the areas were mislabeled, like for example on the world map, Hidden Beach and Volcanios are flipped, and I ended up wasting so much time trying to catch a fish I was looking for at the wrong place. So parts of the game definitely need more polish. Again, a lot of it has to do with the language. I know the developers are working on that, so I have faith they can get it fixed, but it probably will take some time. To conclude, Sea Fantasy is a unique combination of JRPG and fishing game that manages to be a fresh experience, all while having that nostalgic old-school feel to it. At a time when most games end up with the same features, reusing the same formulas over and over again, this one truly manages to stand out by doing its own thing. It is shorter than I would have liked, but every minute was so fun and satisfying. I don't know how to put it, but to me this game feels very much like a video game. Maybe that is part of the old school element, like it's not trying to do a million things, it's just a simple fishing adventure, but it has so much charm. Unfortunately, a bit of that charm is tarnished by a poor translation, but if you're watching this review months or years after its upload, maybe that's no longer the case. I hope so, let me know. And let me know what you think of Sea Fantasy. Is it a game you're interested in? Have you played it already? Did you like it? Did you not? Tell me everything in the comments, and if you're searching for more games that have that retro touch to them, then check out this video where I cover 12 modern video games that feel nostalgic. I'm obsessed with that blend of old and new, and if you're new here, I typically focus on foreign games, so subscribe if you're into those, and I will see you all in the next video.